and building a brighter future.
Keith Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Nicky Hager's Other People's Wars should prompt us to assess the so-called War on Terror, which will be 10 years old this Sunday. The September the 11th attack on the World Trade Center caused such destruction and loss of life that it spooked the world community. The Bush administration seized the opportunity to increase state powers at the expense of civil liberties and engage in foreign military adventures, and unfortunately pulled other Western countries, including New Zealand, in its wake. New Zealand SAS troops were sent to Afghanistan, the Terrorism Suppression Act was passed, and the police, the SIS and Defence Force were instructed to develop a much greater anti-terrorism capability. Now, most New Zealanders have doubts about America's wars and now would rather our SAS was not involved in Afghanistan, and Nicky Hager's book reinforces this particular view. It is a war where our SAS and our intelligence operatives embedded with the Americans have been providing targets for missile attacks, often by drone planes, which commonly kill civilians. Prisoners captured by our SAS have been handed over to possible mistreatment in US or Afghan detention centres. Nicky Hager also questions how separate our provincial reconstruction team in Bamiyan province is from the larger war, despite the Defence Force saying when it was sent that its, quote, personnel are not going to war, end quote, and, quote, the focus of this mission is reconstruction, end quote. Yesterday, Defence Minister Wayne Matt didn't deny that there were US operatives in Bamiyan collecting intelligence, including, it seems, signals intelligence, for the wider war. The New Zealand public relations people don't tell the whole story. For example, we are told our PRT has handed over some responsibilities to the local police, which is good, but it seems that the surplus New Zealand soldiers have been assigned to the northeast corner of Bamiyan province, away from the peaceful Hazara populated zone, where they are more likely to be engaged in the wider war. The Hager book details how New Zealand helped American and British occupation forces in Iraq with our frigate Takahas escorting American troop ships through the Straits of Hormuz, and Kiwi Army engineers based in Basra from 2003 repairing British combat river boats and helping the British occupation force build roadblocks to control what were described as Iraqi rioters. Domestically, our police and SIS have been on a mission to justify their extra anti-terrorist staffing and find some actual terrorists. This has led to unwarranted suspicion being placed on refugees and migrants, most notably in the Ahmed Zawi case, where a democratic opponent of the Algerian regime was imprisoned in New Zealand because of the pressure from other Western governments who tended to support the Algerian dictatorship. Even local political activists have been labelled terrorists, as in the so-called Tuhoi raids of 2007. Thankfully, with the dropping of most of the charges yesterday, this case is collapsing. Of course, the one group the SIS didn't want to spy on, because these people are supposedly Western allies, was Israel's Mossad agents, which happened to be the only group engaged in terrorism-related crime in New Zealand in the last decade, when, of course, Mossad agents obtained fraudulent New Zealand passports to use in terror acts in other countries of the sort they have carried out in Jordan or last year in Dubai. So what can we do at the end of the War on Terror decade to rectify the situation? The Greens offer the following suggestions, all of which will achieve the government's stated objective of reducing state expenditure. Firstly, move quickly to withdraw our SAS unit from Afghanistan. Secondly, sell off our 2 frigates, which, unlike the multi-role vessel and patrol boats, are only useful for helping in America's wars. Thirdly, significantly reduce the budget of the SIS in the light of the realisation that it is not practical to have so much resource devoted to finding terrorists in New Zealand when we haven't discovered a single terrorist in the past decade. And finally, listen to the New Zealand people more. They don't want our foreign policy and our defence policy to simply be a carbon copy of the United States policy. They are tiring of this war on terror that only seems to entangle us in foreign wars and place restrictions on our civil liberties.
Kanwaljit Singh Bakshi.
Mr. Speaker,